to come. Paolo Montesilio, TRT World.
Let's get more on this now with Yusuf Al-Shamari. He's the CEO of energy consultancy firm CMarkits and a senior research fellow at Imperial College in London. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program, sir. Now, we haven't seen direct sanctions against Russia's key energy sector. How close are Europe and the U.S. to taking that step?
Thanks for being with you. Well, certainly I wouldn't expect the energy supplies to be under sanctions, even given the current recent military escalation happening between Russia and Ukraine. Because as you can see, Brent prices, crude oil prices have already exceeded $100. And this is already creating a massive concerns about rising inflation. Already inflation is rising due to the recovery after COVID-19 pandemic, and now we are seeing crude oil prices hitting $100 due to this geopolitical escalation. So it wouldn't be in the interest of Europe or the US to impose any sanctions on the crude oil supplies. Also, as we also know that Russia is a key member of the OPEC Plus alliance, and their presence, or essentially they export something more than 4 million barrels to various countries. And I believe that should stay. And we heard statements coming from the Russian governments that energy supplies will continue to be sold. And of course, they would need that to support their economy, given the current geopolitical escalation that they have in Ukraine.
Give us some insight into how crucial Russia is to global energy markets in general and Europe in particular.
Well, it is an important supplier because if you see that 30% of gas imports in Europe comes from Russia, and a major part of oil supplies that comes to Europe actually comes from Russian oil supplies. And of course, Europe recently has been trying to minimize its imports from Russia. For example, they've been tapping into crude oil coming from the Middle East, especially from Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries. But still, Russia is the most important supplier, because if you look at the location and the pipelines connections, so it is much easier for them to have crude oil supplies coming from Russia directly. In addition, Russia also supplies crude oil to China and other countries, many countries around the world. So I believe the Russian economy continues to be pretty much, let's say, supported by oil revenues, and that is also maintaining its strength compared to other Western economies that, well, where hydrocarbons or resources aren't really the main contributor to the economic well-being. So I would say it's an important player, and energy supplies, if there is a risk on energy supplies, then that can really escalate the economic, the global economic situation.
Right, and what alternatives to Russia customers have if sanctions do indeed get worse for Russia's energy sector, or if Moscow decides to halt its exports?
Well, if sanctions get imposed on energy supplies, there's certainly the Western countries, the US and Europe, will be hit by that. So I don't expect that. But in case that happens, then you would have China. China continues to be an important importer of Russian crude. So they will continue to buy crude oil from Russia. Also, you'll have that crude oil currently being sold at a discount. So it is still attractive for different customers. If Russia can, for example, if there is an increase in the military escalation and Russia decides to halt some of its crude oil exports, then I would think that you will have other major suppliers of oil, including Saudi Arabia, including Emirates, Iraq, and other countries within the OPEC organization and the OPEC alliance. And I would expect perhaps here, because there is an agreement within OPEC Plus that which is signed with Russia, that there is an incremental increase with 400,000 barrels until the end of this year. So if Russia breaks that agreement, then I think the OPEC Plus declaration of collaboration will be really in a difficult situation.
All right, Yusuf Al-Shamari, the CEO of CMarkits. It was a pleasure having you here on the show. Thank you for that.